How's it going, everyone? I am back with another video. This is going to be my Week 18 picks video. Last week of the regular season. This season is absolutely flown by. Can't believe we're already at this point. It's been a very long, hard season as a Pats fan, but this season is still flown by. Just wild that we are at this point already. I've done pretty solid with my picks this year. I'm in the 91 percentile, tack above that 91.3 percentile in the big ESPN league here, 175 and 81. So one of my, a solid year for picks. I think I've had better years in the past, but not awful. I'm doing pretty solid for my standards at least. Week 18 is always a weird week because there's situations where teams have clinched seeding. You get some teams benching their guys, some teams playing their guys. So it's kind of a hard week to predict because of all that stuff. But let's just see how I do. I'll just dive straight in here. So first game, Saturday game is Browns Ravens. 100% going with the Ravens. I would be beyond shocked if the Ravens somehow lost this game. I think, as a matter of fact, I'll be surprised if this game is within 20 points. I think the Ravens are going to at least win, probably by 21. I mean, if the Browns somehow pull off the upset, their defense is just going to have to ball out, which it did play the Ravens pretty well the first time these teams matched up, and the Browns actually won that game. And that was Winston's first start with the Browns this year, and their offense is just going to have to not turn the ball over and just have like a random good performance. But I think the Browns offense is going to put up an absolute shitter. If it scores beyond 13 points at the max, I would be surprised, honestly, unless they get something like a turnover or pick six off good field positioning, a muffed punt, something like that. I just think this is an awful matchup for the Browns right now. I just think the Ravens defense is going to have a really good game. Bailey Zappi is starting this game, which is going to has disaster potential written all over it. I know all about good old Zappi fever as a Patriots fan. Coincidentally, his first career start was against the Browns. He actually played really well that game. We won that game 2 years ago. He set some records in that game. It was a really good game from him, actually. But yeah, just I mean the Browns offense struggling. They only put up 3 points last week against the Dolphins defense, which even though I think statistically it's the third ranked defense overall, the Ravens defense has been playing really well lately. It's been heating up. They technically shut out the Texans offense last week. The Texans scored 2 points. There's the safety. Their defense scored it. And obviously the Texans offense is a multitude of issues, but it's still better than the Browns offense right now. So if they shut out the Texans offense on the road, at home, with the division on the line, they just have to simply win, and they win the division. I am 100% going to believe that their defense is going to have a really good game in this one and the team overall. I think they're going to take care of business, blow the Browns out. I just really do not see a good game from the Browns offense. I just think this is going to be a disaster for Cleveland. And they're going to lose in a blowout here. Ravens offense, I think, is going to go off, have a good game, but I could see the Cleveland defense doing its part, keeping the game relatively close, even though their offense I don't think is going to do anything. But I'm 100% picking the Ravens to win this game, which means they're going to win the division if this prediction holds up as far as the Ravens simply winning the game. So yeah, I'm very confident with the Ravens. I'm going to say they win this game. I'm going to say 31 to hmm. I'll say 31 to I'll say 31-10. I could see them even winning by more than that, but I'll uh I'll give the Browns defense some credit. I'll say they won't let the Ravens go off too much, but 31 is obviously a lot. But I'll say 31-10 Ravens. Feel very confident with that. Both the fact that the Ravens are going to win in a big manner, I feel pretty confident too. The only thing is they can maybe just take their foot off the gas. Maybe the Browns can get some garbage time scores. That's the only thing I'm thinking with that. So I could be a bit closer, but I'm really confident with the Ravens. Browns, I think, are going to get blown out, have a really bad end to the season, and it's just going to be kind of an ironic way to end their year with how rough of a year they're having. Second Saturday game, Bengals Steelers. So this is a very interesting game. So if by some miracle the Browns upset the Ravens, the Steelers, if they win this game, they win the AFC North, and so they'll be the 3 seed. If they lose this game, the Steelers, which I'm predicting them to, I'm picking the Bengals to win this game. The Steelers will be locked into the 6 seed, or not locked in, but the because yeah, okay, so they won't be locked in because them and the Chargers have the same record, but they have the tiebreaker over the Chargers. But spoiler alert, I'm picking the Chargers to beat the Raiders. So if the Bengals beat the Steelers and the Chargers beat the Raiders, the Chargers would be the 5 seed, the Steelers would be the 6 seed. But anyway, yeah, the Steelers could win the AFC North, but it's very unlikely. Can't believe the fall off they've had the past couple weeks. Yes, they've had a tough schedule, but they had the AFC North not well in hand, but it looked like they were definitely going to win the division. It felt like had a really strong chance at doing so, and then they just hit this rough patch. They could definitely win this game. I'm not 100% locking in the Bengals to win this game in my mind. If the Steelers win this game, I think their defense is going to have a good game. It's been playing rough lately, and I think they'll have a good game. In their offense, I think is going to have to get back on track, which is definitely possible. The last time these teams played, the Steelers' offense looked like the greatest show on turf. But the Bengals' defense is playing a bit better, maybe not a lot, but at least a bit better. I can't imagine them allowing that big of a offensive game from the Steelers again, especially with their playoffs on the line. It just seems like, when the chips are in the middle of the table, the stakes are at the highest. That's kind of when the Bengals are at their best, at least on the Joe Burrow era. Jesus, just like had a seizure trying to say that word. Um, but yeah, I think the Bengals offense, I could see it kind of having a game similar to last week against Denver, where it moves the ball well, but it doesn't put up a good amount of points. It just has some sloppy things like turnovers on downs, drops, miscommunication, things like that. I could see this being a low scoring game, not a low scoring game, but a lower scoring, maybe not a lower scoring game or a lower scoring game, but a lower scoring output than some people are predicting. But Bengals know they need to win this game to stay alive in the playoffs. Uh, they need the Dolphins to lose and the Broncos to win. But really, obviously, the only thing they control is this game themselves. They get to control the controllables. Um, so I'm predicting them to do that. They're hot right now. They've won 4 in a row. The Steelers are obviously cold right now. They've lost 3 in a row, 4 in a row. They were 10-3. So yeah, I think they're on a 3-game losing streak. Bengals are hot right now. They need to win to get into the playoffs. The first time these teams played, the Bengals offense had a really good game too. It's just their defense could not stop the Steelers to save their life. Steelers defense forced a couple turnovers, but outside of that, the Bengals offense pretty much was doing whatever it wanted that game. I think the Steelers defense will play a bit better, will contain the Bengals offense a little bit more than the last time. I think the Bengals offense is a good game in this one. Their defense plays a bit better. They do what they need to do, take care of business on the road in Pittsburgh, prime time, which is, a not giving me too much comments on the road in Pittsburgh, prime time. Steelers can bounce back against a hot Bengals team, knock them out of the playoffs. Maybe some extra motivation for both teams because the Bengals win, the Steelers seeding is going to get hurt. Not obviously they're as motivated as they are, I'm sure, because they are fighting for the playoffs. But I'm sure it helps that a little added incentive you can hurt your. Well, the Steelers win, they'll eliminate the Bengals, and the Bengals win, they'll hurt the Steelers playoff seeding. So one way or another, either they're going to clinch the division for the Ravens or they're going to help the Chargers move up the playoff spot. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Bengals to win this game. Hopefully, I really hope the Bengals can make it into the 7 seed. So I'm going to say Cincy wins this game. I'll say, hmm, I'll say Cincy takes this game. I'll say 28. I'll say 28 to. Uh, hmm. I'll say 28, 20. 2024 Bang. Nah. It kind of sucks being like 28-21, but I kind of feel like it's going to be closer than that. Then I don't know at the same time. I'll say 28-21 Bengals. Yeah, fuck it. I'll say 28-24 Bengals end up winning this game in probably a nail biter, I'm sure. Give me 1 second here. I'm just gonna check my phone before I move on to the next game. Sorry guys, give me 1 second here. Here we go. Okay. Panthers Falcons. Picking the Falcons to win this game. I don't think they're going to win the division. Spoiler alert, I had the Bucks beating the Saints. Falcons can still win the division. They obviously need to win this game. Then they need to have the Bucks to lose. I'm picking the Falcons to win this game, but I don't think they're going to win the division. I think they blew it last week. All they need to do is just beat the Commanders. Not that that's an easy task, but they just need to beat the Commanders and then win this game, take care of business at home against the Panthers, and you're in the playoffs. You win the NFC South. Which they would have finished 10-7, which I predicted them to finish 10-7 and win the division. My preseason picks, and the Bucks finished 9-8. So at least I'm relatively close to those picks, even though most of my preseason picks gone to absolute hell. But that's okay. But yeah, part of my gut is kind of a little part of my gut's feeling the Panthers in this game. Not gonna lie, I could see the Panthers offense having a good game and their defense playing a surprisingly good game. Maybe not too surprising because Michael Penix has played well, but he's still a rookie, still making some mistakes, still adjusting to be the starter, and things like that. And the Panthers definitely want to play spoiler. If they know, obviously they're playing their division rival, the Falcons, one of their division rivals. They know if they win this game, the Falcons are out of the playoffs. So they definitely want to play spoiler. They had nothing to lose. They might just throw it all out there, throw the kitchen sink at them, because why not? Panthers have obviously not been a very great team this year. They played much better, really, ever since that Saints game that they won. The second one, obviously, the first one, week one, they just got friggin' demolished. But ever since then, they've been playing some solid ball. Outside that Dallas game was kind of a shitter. But besides that, they've been playing solid ball. Could see them pulling off the upset, but I'm definitely going to go with the Falcons this one at home. Falcons know that they need to win, get some help from their other division rival in the Saints. They want to make the division, or win the division rather, make the playoffs. Just at home, they're the better team. Their defense has been playing well. I think their defense will have a good game. Michael Penix and company. I think Bijan's going to have a good day running the ball. Panthers' run defense is god-awful. So I think Bijan's going to have a good day. Maybe even Algier is a pretty good game. That's a nasty 1-2 combo they've hit all year with Robinson and Algier, even last year, Bijan's rookie year. But anyway, I think Michael Penix is a pretty solid game. I'm just picking the Falcons in this game. I feel pretty confident they'll win this game, but I wouldn't be too surprised if the Panthers play spoiler. I'm going to say Atlanta takes care of business. I'll say they win this game fairly decisively. I'll say the Falcons win this game. I'll say... Maybe this is a bit bold. I'm going to say the Falcons score 27. I'll say 27-14. Maybe that's a bit bold. Kind of feeling a one-score game, maybe. I'll say 27-14. Maybe a bit bold. I'll say, 27-14. Falcons take care of business in that one. And just pray that the Saints beat the Bucks. Commanders, Cowboys. Part of me wants to pick the Cowboys, even though it doesn't make too much logical sense. The first game these teams played, the Cowboys defense really basically shut down the Commanders for like 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, the Commanders kind of figured something out. They started scoring a bit. Maybe the Cowboys were kind of in prevent defense at that point in the game, playing a little too conservative. Obviously, that Terry McLaurin play, that was just, I don't know what the hell that was on Dallas's part. That should not have happened. Hell of play by McLaurin and Daniels, but that should not have happened on Dallas's part. But the Cowboys are just beat up right now. They've been beat up the whole year. Commanders are playing for seeding. They have to know that the Packers are probably going to beat the Bears. So they know that they're going to need to win to sustain their sixth seed. That's a tongue twister. Uh, so and obviously they beat the Cowboys beat them in Washington, so they're going to want to get revenge. Beat the Cowboys in Dallas to end the year, send their division rival into the offseason with a big L, fat L for the Cowboys. They're the better team. They didn't play very well the first time. At least their offense, their defense played a pretty solid game, but their offense has been playing. The Cowboys got them when their offense wasn't playing great. It was kind of stuck in like neutral. It felt like, but ever since then, their offense got back on track. The Commanders. I just think the defense plays well for the Commanders. Their offense plays well. I can honestly see the Commanders blowing the Cowboys out. If Dallas wins, I definitely think it's a one-score game that goes down in the last play, probably right down to the wire. I think their defense will play a solid game, and I think their offense is just going to have to overperform. But I trust the Commanders in this game. Uh, Maybe a bit bold. I'm going to say the Commanders take care of business rather decisively. I'm going to say they win this game. I'll say 20. Hmm, I'll say the Commanders win this game 27 to. I'll say 27. I hate score predictions. I'll say 27 to 14. Maybe I'm lowballing Dallas a bit there. Well, fuck it. I'll say it's a one-score game. I'll say, no, I won't. I'll say 27-17. Commanders win that one. Bears Packers, as I just mentioned, I'm definitely picking the Packers in this game. I would be shocked if the Bears won. I keep saying the Bears have the ability to maybe be a bit sneaky. Are they really going to drop? Jesus, how many? What were they? 4-3. So this will be if they drop this game, that'll be 10 games in a row they lose to lose the year. Like, are they really going to drop 10 games in a row? Well, I'm picking them to. The Packers, I just think it's a bad draw for them. The Packers in situations like this under Matt LaFleur are usually take care of business. They're at home. They know that if they want to try to push the sixth seed, they're going to have to win. They can't lose and get the sixth seed. They're going to have to hope Dallas wins against the Commanders, which, again, I don't think it's too out of the realm of possibility. So that's what the Packers are probably thinking. Regardless, anyway, I think they're going to take care of business at home against the Bears. Bears offense has been really struggling. Packers defense, I think, has the potential to have a really good game in this one. I actually am going to predict the Bears to only score like 10-13 or somewhere in that range. Packers offense, I think, does whatever it wants. Just the Packers as a team overall just takes full control of this game, sustains it throughout the game. I'm going to say the Packers win this game. I'll say 27-13. I don't want to overanalyze it too much. I just think they'll take care of business, beat a bad Chicago team, just mercifully end the year for Bears fans. Poor Bears fans. They had so much potential this year, the Bears. Just what a disaster after that Hail Mary. Literally, I didn't think it was going to derail their season, but I was wrong. But yeah, I think the Packers take care of business. And if my predictions hold up, they'll be 12-5 and be the seventh seed, which is absolutely insane. A 12-win team is like enough. You can argue a 12-win team is enough for the one seed. In 2021, the Titans were the one seed and they won 12 games. And now the one seed is going to be, or the seven seed is going to be 12-5. It's absolutely insane. What a bad draw for the Packers as a seven seed, getting a regular 12-5. But I think they're going to take care of business, beat the Bears in that one. Um, Texans, Titans. I'm going with the Texans in this game. All right, so the Titans are actually favored. So the Texans are locked into the 4 seed. So I'm thinking if the Titans are favored, maybe the Texans are resting some starters I don't know about. Let me double check here. Um, let's see. The Texans resting their starters. All right, give me 1 second here. I don't think they should rest their starters anyway because they've really been struggling. They got to try to find something if they want any chance in the postseason whatsoever. Um, okay, so kind of a neutral answer from D'Amico Ryan. Just everyone has to go. We'll see how it goes. So all right. So it seems like the Texans are at least going to play the starters some of the game. Honestly, the Titans are so bad, even if their backups play the whole game, the Texans. I'm still going to pick the Texans in this game. Obviously, the Texans, have, as I mentioned, have been really struggling. They had such high aspirations and hopes this season, and just I kept saying it even early in the year when they only had one loss. They were like 5-1. I kept saying something to me seems a bit off with this team, and now it's really, really showing. Obviously, I just they have to just try to find something. They're I think they're going to be without a doubt a first round exit. Especially if they play the Chargers, I think the Chargers are for sure beating them in the wild card, or the Steelers, whichever team gets them. I'm picking them to beat the Texans unless something insane changes or insane. Yes, it's just how the hell do I word it? I'm like having a seizure here. Unless something insane changes leading up to that game or something happens this week, I definitely am picking the Texans to lose in the first round. At least as of now, I am. But the Texans just really going to try to get something rolling. Their defense has been playing at least decent lately. Just their offense has been, oh my God, like Jesus. I don't know what the hell has happened to their offense. Bobby Sloak went from a hot head coaching candidate, like right up there with Ben Johnson last year, to like this guy needs to be fired. Is what Texans fans are saying. Some of them at least. Stroud, obviously in a sophomore slump. They lost Diggs. They lost Tank Dell. They're just trying to find some answers right now. You got to feel bad for the Texans, at least a little bit. But yeah, they're on the road, locked into the 4 seed. My gut's just telling me that they try to figure something out this game. I think they will. I think their defense will have a good game against the Titans' struggling offense with Will Levis. Even though the first time these teams played, when Will Levis started, obviously the Texans was a couple weeks ago, so the Texans obviously had all their starters in there. The Texans defense could not stop Will Levis for whatever reason. The Titans offense had a really good game. They put up 30 plus, and the Titans defense played a decent game in that one too. Titans defense has dropped off since then. That's if they do win this game, I think the Titans defense is going to have a good game, similar to how it played a good portion of this season up until the past couple weeks at least, where it's kind of fell off. It feels like, and their offense I think is going to have to overperform. Will Levis is going to have to limit the turnovers. Obviously, I guess you can say that for any game, but especially Will Levis. But yeah, I just think the Texans offense has a decent enough game. I think their defense is trying to be the main reason they win this game. I think the Titans will lose this game. Maybe they fire Brian Callahan. That's going to be not right after. I'm sure they'll take some time with the decision. But I don't know. I think the Titans offense is going to not have a great game. Texans defense will be the main reason they win. I'm going to say the Texans win this game, even if they play their backups. I'll say Houston wins this game, gets a much needed win heading into the postseason. Try to get any momentum whatsoever. I'll say get some revenge on the Titans for beating them the first time in Houston. I'll say Houston wins this game. I'll say 20. I'll say 23. Maybe that's even a bit high for the Texans, how much they've been struggling. They got shut out last game. They only got that safety, which was their defense. I'll say 20-13, actually. I'll say 20-13. Houston wins this game. Jags Colts, nothing on the line in terms of playoffs here, playoff seeding. Both these teams are eliminated, obviously. Colts, I talked about it in my video that is still uploading. It's saying it's very sweet time to upload. My week 17 recap video. Like, what a disappointment of a game that was against the Giants. Oh boy. I mean, I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm not really a Colts fan, but I can only imagine how infuriated and disappointed Colts fans must be. But yeah, at home, I think they're going to be pissed off at the way they played last week. Their players have talked about, they weren't ready. It's on them. they're going to try to be better, things like that along those lines. I just think they're going to be pissed off. They're at home against a bad Jags team. It's been playing a bit better lately, especially their defense. At home against a bad Jags team, the better team. I think they bounce back, get a good win, go into the offseason with some, maybe not momentum, but at least, they can say they won the last game. I think they're honestly going to win this game fairly decisively. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a big game. Joe Flacco, I'm pretty sure starting. They ruled Richardson out. That's another question mark situation. What's going to happen with Richardson? They'll probably keep him, if I had to guess, but who knows? We'll have to see what happens. I think the Colts defense is a pretty solid game, bounce back game. That was the main reason they lost last week. Their defense played absolutely abysmal, could not tackle anyone to save their lives. It was like their Madden sliders went all the way down when they were trying to tackle Malik Nabers specifically. But yeah, I think the Colts bounce back. Honestly, I think they'll blow the Jags out in this one. I feel honestly decent that they're in a bounce back game. At the very least, win. Jags, if they pull off the upset, I think their defense is going to have to play at the level it has been, and their offense is going to have to limit its turnovers and just play better than I'm expecting it to, at least. But yeah, I feel pretty good with the Colts bouncing back in this one. I'm going to say Indy wins this game. I'll say 20. I'll say 28 to. Honestly, I kind of want to say they go off for like more than 28. You know what? Maybe this is super bold of me. I'm going to say Indy just goes off. Even though their offense went off last week, I'm going to say they put up 30 bomb. 30. I'm going to say Indy wins this game 35 to 14. Maybe that's a little bold, but I'm going to go with that one. 35-14 Indy. Bills and my team, the Patriots. Now, this is a very interesting game. Obviously, the Bills are playing the starters. I'm with no hesitation whatsoever picking the Bills to win this game. The issue is the Bills, it seems like they're going to play their starters for very limited time. It seems like at minimum, Josh Allen's going out there for a snap. He's probably just going to hand the ball off and then just walk to the sideline, be benched the rest of the game so we can say kept his starting streak intact. Maybe he plays a drive at the most, but there's no reason to play, especially Josh Allen. And I assume if Allen's in there, they're going to want the starting O-line in there. They're not going to want Josh Allen in there with backup linemen, obviously. But there's no reason for them to really play their starters. They're locked into in terms of playoff seeding, obviously. They're locked into the 2 seed. But yeah, my team's pretty injured too. We're going to miss Gonzo, a couple other key guys. I want to say I saw. I forget who was ruled out, but I saw we had a couple key guys ruled out. Gonzo's the big one out of that group that I saw. Drake May might not play. He's questionable. Joe Milton's been taking first team reps. Oh, that's hard. Honestly, I was going to say if May plays, I'm going to switch to the Patriots. But honestly, at this point, I'm just going to stick with the Bills, even if May does play. We are so bad. If Joe Milton plays, I feel pretty confident with the Bills. It's going to be interesting to see if Joe Milton plays. And I love Drake May, but I hope at least Joe Milton gets some playing time. I don't think Joe Milton's, the best quarterback, but it's going to be interesting to see what the hell we get from him. I mean, why not? We're 3-13. We're playing for nothing. Obviously, if we lose, we get the first pick. It's another discussion. Should we lose on purpose or not? But it's like, why not? Let's just see what Joe Milton's made of. We had nothing to lose at this point in the season. But yeah, the Bills' backups are, there was a game a couple years ago, it was 2020, the COVID year. The Dolphins were fighting to get into the playoffs. It was in Buffalo. The Bills just played their backups the whole game. And so I think most people just assumed the Dolphins going to win that game. And the Bills blew them out with their backups. I think if I remember right, they put up a 50-plus burger, and they just completely blew the Dolphins out that game. That was embarrassing for the Dolphins. Sorry, I'm reading my phone here. Okay, sorry. But yeah, Bills backups, honestly, regardless of who plays at quarterback, I'm still going to take the Bills. I think, again, this is one of the ones that's hard to predict because the Bills are going to play their backups. And you can say a couple weeks ago, obviously the game was very close between us and the Bills in Buffalo. We were up 14-0. We went on to lose by 3. And the Bills were trailing for most of that game. And so you can say, well, obviously the starters are in for both teams. So it was that close with the starters in there. Like, what makes you think the Bills' backups are going to win the game? So my explanation for that is the game we played against them a couple weeks ago. The Bills were just kind of due for a game like that, where they played like a C game, C plus game. Where they were putting up 40 plus bombs back to back week against the Rams and Lions. Their offense was kind of due for like a meh, like not great, but not awful game. And they were just kind of due for a performance like that. That would be my explanation. And we were kind of due to maybe a hot start like that. And now that that's out of the way, the Bills played their starters. I think they'd blow us out in this game, no doubt in my mind. But yeah, I'm just gonna pick them anyway. I'm just hopefully Joe Milton gets in there. I mean, again, I love Drake May, but what do we have to lose at this point? Hopefully May plays, but hopefully at least Milton, maybe some package plays. He can get a couple throws in there just to see what the hell he's made out of at this point. Who knows? Should we lose this game on purpose to get the #1 overall pick? So, I mean, I never am a fan of intentionally rooting for my team to lose. I understand the argument for it. I'm not questioning if you're a fan or not, but again, even though if we win this game, it means nothing except hurting our draft position, I'm still going to pull for my team. I will say if we do lose, I'm not going to be very upset at all because that means we get the first overall pick. And I'm sure we'll mess up the first overall pick, but I hope we package it and trade back because obviously we don't need a quarterback, so we can use it as a leverage for trade assets. The team can trade up with us for trying to get a quarterback. But yeah, I'm gonna pick the Bills backups to win this game. I think our defense will play a decent game, especially the backups and Trubisky and company are in there. I think our defense will play a decent game, keep it close. If Drake May plays, I think our offense will just kind of be similar to how it has all year, like a couple decent drives, a couple like oh my god drives. If Milton plays, I think it'll mostly be like Jesus, like what are we doing? Most of those drives offensively. Maybe Bazooka Joe, I don't know if he gets a couple good plays in there, but I could also see the Bills backups. Not that Miami game a couple years ago I outlined. I didn't think they'll put up a 50 burger, beat us like 40 something, or however many points the Bills won that game. But I could see like if Joe Milton's in there, he has a really rough time. He throws some picks and it just gets ugly. I don't know. I think the Bills defense will have a decent game, even the backups are, and I think their offense will have a decent game too. I'm going to pick the Bills regardless. That's how bad we are, even if they play their backups, especially because we're missing some key guys. I'll say the Bills take this game. I'll say 24-17. Bills win this one and mercifully ends my team season. I can relax to not having to comprehend what the fuck my team is doing every week. Okay, let me take a sip of my zero sugar, very underrated flavor, pomegranate vitamin water. To that rant. There we go. Okay, Giants Eagles. This is another game that's, I mean, immediately you just see this and you pick the Eagles, no hesitation. But this is another game where the Eagles are resting some of their starters, especially Saquon. Hurts got ruled out, so I think Pickett's starting, assuming he's healthy. He got dinged up last week, but I think he'll be good to go. Not 100% sure on that. Actually, let me look that up real quick. Let's see. Okay, he's questionable. Well, do you know what? I don't even give a shit. Even if it's Tanner McKee in there, I'm still going to pick the Eagles. Yeah, the Giants, I think last week they just got their random game where they were due for a win and they just got a bunch to bounce their way, just had a good game offensively. They just went off offensively. They were kind of due for a game like that, I guess, and I think they got it out of the way. And then this week they're going to return to the team that has been a disaster for most of this season. Even with the Eagles backups in there, I still feel pretty confident with the Eagles. They're locked into the 2 seed, so they're playing for nothing in terms of playoff seeding. But yeah, I'm picking the Eagles to win this game regardless. I think they'll probably take control early, just hold the the lead, control most of this game. Picking the Eagles to win. I think if the Giants pull off the upset, I think it will be because their their defense plays a good game, really limits the Giants' offensive backups, and their offense is. I could see their offense, I guess, having a good game, especially against the Eagles' backup defenders. But I think, regardless, the Eagles' defense will have a good game anyway. I think the offense will do just enough. Probably just Tanner McKee make him a game manager. Just probably short, conservative throws, screens, slants, check downs. Just get the run game going, things like that. I feel fairly confident with the Eagles, even with their backups in there. If the Giants win, I definitely think it's a one-score game. Actually, I could see the Giants, especially with their starters, maybe winning fairly decisively, like 10-14, something like that. But I'm going to say the Eagles actually win this game decisively. I'm going to say Philly takes this game. I'll say Philly wins. Do you know what? Maybe this is a bit bold with the backups in there, but I'm going to say they put up 27. Maybe that's a bit bold. God, am I really predicting Kenny Pickett, or especially Tanner McKee's in there to score 27? Okay, you know what? I'm going to dock him a couple points. I'll say 24. I'll say 24-14. Philly takes this game. I don't know if I probably talked about it, but I like to go over why each team can win every game in all my picks videos, predictions videos. So I guess if my team pulls off the upset, it's just going to be because obviously it's going to help the Bills. You're going to have their backups in the game. I think our offense is going to have a good game. And our defense, even though I can see it getting torched, even if the Bills' backups play the whole game, which is probably going to be the case, I think our defense will just be able to contain them, and our offense is going to have to overperform. Especially if May's in there, it's definitely possible. But with Milton in there, I feel less confident in that. Honestly, I think it's more likely Milton kind of is a rough, just ugly game than May, or rather than our offense just having a good game with him, if that makes any sense. But yeah, again, going with the Bills in that game. And Eagles in this one, what did I say? 24. Okay, do you know what? Fuck it. I'll say 24-14. I was gonna up them again, but I'll just say 24-14. Eagles in that one. Saints Bucks. So I mentioned the Falcons. If the Saints pull off the upset in this game, they win, and the Falcons win. The Falcons are the NFC South champs. Not picking that to happen. 100% picking the Bucks in this game. The only thing that logically suggests the Saints can win this game is they just go all out. They play spoiler to one of their division rivals' chances at winning the division. I don't know. They just ran. If they win, I think their defense is going to have a good game. Their offense, I think, is going to have a very tough time in this game. I do not see Spencer Rattler and company moving the ball in the box. The first time these teams, sorry, I just hit my desk with my arm by accident. Jesus, there must have 15 things fall off my desk here. But the first time these teams played, the Bucks shut the Saints out for 3 quarters, but the second quarter was just really weird. The Saints scored 27, but outside of that, and one of the touchdowns is off of a punt return. But besides that, the Bucks defense really shut Rattler and company down that game. I'm predicting them to do the same this game. I think the Bucks defense is a really good game. Rattler and the offense have a rough game. I think the Bucks offense is a good game too. I just really don't see the Saints winning this game unless their defense just balls out of its mind and their offense just has a very surprising good game. I feel really confident with the Bucks in this game. Obviously, they know that they got to. Technically, if they lose the game, they can still win the division, but they know that more likely than not that the Falcons going to beat the Panthers. Although, I could see the Panthers pulling off the upset. It's more likely than not the Falcons win against the Panthers, so they know they're going to need to win, take care of business against a bad Saints team, and just win the game, get double-digit wins, win the division, and lock up. They're also playing for seeding the Bucks. They could get the 3 seed if the Rams lose, which the Rams are resting their starters, so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So Tampa, assuming they win this game, which I'm predicting them to, they would be the 3 seed, and they're going to play the 6 seed, which is either going to be Washington or Green Bay. I definitely think Washington would be the better draw uh, for the Bucs than the Packers. Which I think the Packers are going to get the 7 seed. So actually, based off my predictions, spoiler alert, I had the Rams losing because they're resting their backups or their starters rather. So actually, in my scenario, unless I'm missing something, I have a Bucs Commanders round one game. That'll be an interesting playoff game if that happens. But anyway, you would much 100% rather play the Commanders or I guess the Packers, even though the Packers I think can be very dangerous. You would probably at least definitely the Commanders want to play the Commanders or Packers over the Lions Vikings. Even though the Bucs beat the Lions earlier in the year in Detroit, the Lions kind of beat themselves a good portion of that game with just some self-inflicted wounds. It felt like not to take credit away from the Bucs, but I think the Lions should have won that game. Anyway, not to get too ahead of myself here. In terms of this game, again, I'm just going to go with the Bucs in this one. I think they take care of business, blow the Saints out. I'll say Tampa wins this game. I'll say 28-10. I really just think the Saints offense is going to have a tough time in this one. I'll say 28-10, see maybe 13. I think at the max, like 17 for the Saints. I could also see the Bucs offense even going off more. And they put up, I'm pretty sure, 50 plus against the Saints the last time, or at least 40 plus if I remember right. Uh, Obviously, they're missing Godwin, and so that sucks. But so their offense has been playing well. I could see them putting up more than 30, but I'll say 28-10. Tampa wins that game. This is a very interesting game. Chiefs Broncos. As you can see, it's close to a 50-50 split in my league. So I've been saying kind of the whole year, okay, maybe not saying, but thinking the whole year that I was going to pick the Broncos to win this game for a long time now. But I also assumed the Chiefs were going to play their starters at this point. Now they had the 1 seed clinched up. They're resting at least, I believe, all their starters. At least their key guys they're resting, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, Mahomes is getting rested, Kelsey, people like that. And all they need to do to make the playoffs, Denver, there's a scenario where they can get in, but they need both the Bengals and Dolphins to lose. I have the Bengals winning, so that eliminates that scenario right there. So they could get in if they lose, but it's a simple win and in scenario for the Broncos. It's been like that a couple weeks, actually, for them. But again, this game, this is a perfect scenario for them. At home, in Denver, just win and in against a division rival. You can't really hurt their playoff seeding to the 1 seed, but you can stick it to them, get a good win against them, get revenge in the game that they should have won in Kansas City, except that Chiefs got the blocked field goal, which again, they made the play, but Chiefs a little fortunate, per usual, to win that game, I think. And as I whacked my watch on my desk, that felt good. But what was I just saying? I just lost my thought process now. Yes. So yeah, you can kind of stick it to the Chiefs, give them a loss, even though I don't think the Chiefs really give two shits, honestly. Playing for no seed at this point, locked into the 1. Denver's going to get in, I think. See, I'm predicting the Broncos to win. And my point is, I kind of been predicting the Chiefs to drop this game all year. But getting back to my original talking point here. But honestly, I don't know. Part of my gut thinks the Chiefs still win this game. Denver, even though they've been losing close games, it feels like they kind of have dropped off lately, and they're not playing the best of ball. Even the Chiefs' backups in there, and Carson Wentz is a very capable backup, obviously. I think he's certainly more than capable of going into Denver and winning this game. He played Week 18 last year against the Niners, and the Niners are playing their backups too. And Carson Wentz actually played a pretty solid game, if I remember right, and the Rams won that game. And yeah, so Carson Wentz is a capable backup. I mean, even last year, the Chiefs were locked into the 3 seed. They played the Chargers, and the Chargers were a mess last year. They fired Staley late in the year. They had Easton Stick in there. They had a bunch of injuries. They were playing their starters Week 18, and the Chiefs still won with their backups, and it was like 10-7, if I remember right. Obviously, the Broncos are playing for much more than the Chargers were last year, at least in terms of playoff seeding. Ideally, the Broncos should win this game fairly handedly. if the Chiefs pull off the upset, I think, and again, I think that's a very possible scenario, very plausible and realistic scenario. I think their offense is going to have to have an efficient game. I definitely can see their offense scoring somewhere in the 20s, maybe lower 20s. And I think their defense is going to have to play a good game, which honestly, I'm kind of going to predict that happens. But the Broncos offense, I think, will do enough in this game. I could see the Broncos offense just going off, scoring. I don't think they'll score like 30 plus or anything, but I think with the backups in there, they could have a good game, put up a decent amount of points. Broncos defense, I think, will have a good game. But honestly, at the same time, part of my gut is predicting the Chiefs offense to have like a bit of a surprisingly good game. Honestly, I might be talking myself into switching to the Chiefs here. I'm gonna be see as crazy as this sounds. I hate the Chiefs, wish nothing but the worst on that team and their franchise. I hope they lose forever. Okay, maybe not forever, but at least in the Mahomes era, I cannot stand them, cannot stand Mahomes. I'm gonna be pulling for them to win this game because I want the Bengals in the playoffs. That's another thing people are talking about. Are the Chiefs going to intentionally lose the game so the Cincy won't get in? I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think the Chiefs are playing the game where they're trying to match up with this team over this team. I think they're not afraid to play any team. And maybe if anything, they're gonna want to play the Bengals to beat them in the playoffs. But the Bengals, even if they get in, they're gonna have to get past the Bills round one, which is gonna be obviously a very hefty task. But anyway, yeah, this is a very hard game to predict, but I just can't predict the Chiefs backups to go into Denver and win when the Broncos should have beaten the Chiefs starters on the road in Arrowhead. I can't predict their backups, who are obviously a lesser version of the team than their starters, to beat the same Denver starters that should have beaten Kansas City starters in Arrowhead, but this game being in Denver with the Broncos having a bunch to play for, trying to get into the playoffs. Hopefully that just made sense. That was probably a tongue twister. But yeah, even though as crazy as it sounds, I'll be pulling for the Chiefs. I'm predicting Denver to win this game. I could see them winning big. If the Chiefs, I honestly could see the Chiefs backups even win this game like 10, maybe a bit more, but I can't predict that to happen. I could see this being a close game, regardless which either team winning, but I'm going to say Denver wins a close one here. I'll say Denver wins this game 24-17. And unfortunately, if that happens, Cincy is out of the playoffs. Chargers Raiders. Yep, not gonna think too much about this game. Going with the Chargers. The only thing that's making this game semi-interesting is that the Raiders have been playing some decent ball the past 2 weeks. They were against the Jags and the Saints, so obviously, two shit teams, two tank bowl teams, but still they've won 2 games in a row. Their defense has played solid. Their offense has looked pretty decent the past 2 weeks. Again, I guess especially against the Saints defense, I was surprised on the road in New Orleans, and they got in late. They didn't get off their team point till like 1 a.m. or something like that. There was some delay. They looked pretty good against the Saints defense. Aiden O'Connell's looked pretty good the past 2 weeks. If they pull off the upset, again, I think it's going to be them just going all out, trying to play spoiler for one of their division rivals, hurt their playoff seeding chances. Their defense will have to play a good game, which I guess I could see, and their offense is going to have to overperform. But I feel really confident in the Chargers. I just think the Chargers take care of business in this game. I think the Chargers defense is a good performance in this game, really limits the Raiders offense. And the Chargers offense, I think, will have a good game too. I think it'll get the job done. I think the Raiders defense will be able to keep the game relatively close for a while. But I think this will be a type of game. The Chargers are up like 10-14, somewhere in that range, like consistently for most of the game. They end up winning by a margin similar to that, somewhere in that range. But yeah, I'm going to predict the Chargers definitely to take care of business. And if the Bengals win, and meaning the Steelers lose, and the Chargers win, the Chargers are the 5 seed, which is the ideal matchup because then you'll be playing the Texans round one. And I think the Chargers match up very, very well with the Texans as the teams are now. So the Chargers, again, Jim Harbaugh, I'm sure he's not even thinking of that scenario. He just simply is giving this team the message, let's just win the game. 11's a lot better than 10. That's what Derwin James said. That's what Jim Harbaugh said. He's just thinking, let's just win the game. Probably simple as that, not even thinking with the playoff scenarios. So yeah, I just feel really confident with the Chargers in this game. Jim Harbaugh take care of business. Games like these, typically what he does, wins by decent margins. So I'm going to say the Chargers take this game, win it with a score of, I'll say 24-14. I'll say 24. I was going to say 10 for the Raiders, but that might be a little bit bold. I could see it though. Fuck it. I'll say 24-10 Chargers in that one. Seahawks Rams. So this is an interesting game. See, most people, about 80% of your roundup, are on the Rams. I think that's because they don't realize the Rams are playing their backups. The Rams are benching Stafford, Nakua, Kupp, I'm pretty sure Kupp, I would imagine so, and some of their starting offensive linemen. So that right there, I mean, even though the Rams see, it's kind of a weird situation for the Rams because the Rams are playing for the 3 seed. If they lose this game, they're going to be the 4 seed. Unless I'm missing something here. Actually, technically, they can lose this game, I think, and still get the 3 seed because if the... Hang on, let me think about this. Can they lose this game and still get the 3 seed? Yes, they can because if the Falcons win the division, they'll be 9-8, and so the Rams will have the 3 seed. But I'm pretty sure the Bucs have the tiebreaker over the Rams, so the Bucs win the division. Rams lose this game. I think the Rams are the 4 seed. So it's a little strange that the Rams are resting their starters because you 100%, as I mentioned earlier, would rather play the 6 seed, which is either going to be the Commanders or Packers, than the 5 seed, which is going to be the loser of Detroit, Minnesota. Again, even though the Rams beat the Vikings earlier in the year, and they also nearly beat the Lions in Detroit week 1. Maybe a bit fortunate the Lions won that game. But again, maybe I think Sean McVay at this point in his team, he's just relaying the message like, all right, we're in. We're going to get a home playoff game in the first round. Almost certainly going to have to go on the road for round 2. So honestly, at this point, like, who cares? We're not afraid to play anyone. Let's just play who we play. If we want to get to where we want to be at, as the Rams have Super Bowl aspirations this year, obviously, which I do think they're kind of a dark horse to make a run. I'm not going to pick them to, but who knows? Maybe I don't think I will, but we'll have to see what happens. So we want to get to where we want to be, the Super Bowl. We're going to have to beat everyone. We want to beat the best. So who cares about seeding? We're going to have to play everyone. I respect the hell out of that from Sean McVay. It seems like that's where his head's at, basically conceding that he's okay with getting the 4 seed by benching his starters. But anyway, back to this game with the Seahawks bench. I would pick the Rams if they were playing their starters, but I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win this game. I think their defense is a really good game. The Rams offense kind of struggles though to starters in there. I don't know if the Rams are benching their starting defenders. If they, I have to imagine at least like maybe at most I would say their starters on defense play a half, maybe a couple drives, something like that, and then they get benched. But I would assume they're benching their defensive starters. If that's the case, I'm going to pick the Seahawks. Obviously, they're playing all their guys as Seahawks. So the Seahawks lost to the Rams in Seattle, where their defense was doing anything in its power to make the game close, and then Geno Smith and company kept turning the ball over and doing anything in their power to make sure the Rams won the game. Rams ended up winning that game in overtime. He had chance after chance, the Seahawks, that game. They blew it. It's been a story of a couple games this season, it felt like, for the Seahawks. But, yeah. I just think Seahawks, their starters, they simply take care of business, beat the Rams backups. I think the Seahawks defense is going to be a big reason they win this game. I don't think the Seahawks offense is going to go off, but I could see it going off. I think the Rams defense will keep it a relatively close game. Again, I think this will be one of the games the Rams backups are in there the whole time that they're trailing, somewhere like 10-14. kind of stays in that margin, maybe 17 at the max. Seahawks go on to win by that margin, somewhere in that range. The Rams offense is going to have to just overperform, and their defense, even though I do think they'll have a solid game, is going to have a really solid game. They want to pull off the upset in this one. Yeah, Seattle's favored in the money line here. I just don't think most people realize the Rams are playing their backups. Maybe they do when they're still picking the Rams, which I don't think it's too unrealistic the Rams backups win this game. But I'm going to just trust the Seahawks a bit more in this one with their starters. I'll say Seattle takes this game with a score of, I'll say 20. I'll say 24. I'll say 24-14 Seattle in that one. Their defense plays a good game. They end the year with a dub, 10-7, pretty solid year for the Seahawks and Mike McDaniel, his first year as the head coach of that ball club. Dolphins Jets. All right, so this is definitely going to be a controversial pick for me. I am picking the New York Jets to win this game. I cannot believe I actually just said that out loud. I mean, I'm not very confident in this pick at all. The Dolphins should win this game. They're the better team. The reason I am picking the Jets to win this game is honestly just more of a gut feeling. I keep talking about, all right, so I guess I'll kind of outline the reasons, my thinking with this game. I keep talking about it, but the Jets have a chance to spoil the Dolphins' season. If they simply win this game, the Dolphins are eliminated from the playoffs. So they're going to want to do that, play spoiler to a division rival. B, the first time these teams played, the game went to overtime. The Jets were up 8 in the fourth quarter, and it was in Miami. And the Jets probably should have won that game. The Dolphins seem maybe a bit fortunate they won that game. C, I don't think the Jets can play worse than they did last week against the Bills. And part of my gut just told me they bounce back in this game and just win a close game. Rodgers is, probably going to want an extra motivation to play a good game after he played like absolute dog shit against the Bills last week. Like statistically, one of the worst games he's ever played. He had a QBR, it was like 1 point something. It was like the lowest in a long time. I forget who, since who, but it was bad. It was bad. But yeah, Tua's not playing. I'm going to assume he's not playing. He's highly doubtful, which is a little surprising to me. So Tyler Huntley is going to be in there for the Dolphins. Well, actually played a good game last week, but the Dolphins defense is the main reason they won that game. They held the Browns to 3. The Dolphins offense didn't really do too much in that game, even though they moved the ball decently well. Maybe they just played to their defense that game. They could have tried to push the ball. They really wanted to. Who knows? But I don't know. I'm just going to go with my gut and just say the Jets pull off the upset, spoil the Dolphins' playoff hopes. I mean, part of my gut's just saying Rodgers and company have a good game offensively. Their defense plays well, but I also think the Dolphins' defense plays well, and I think Huntley and the offense will do a decent enough job to keep it interesting. Honestly, I think this is a close game. I honestly don't see either team winning by more than one score. I think the Jets, my gut's telling me they win in dramatic fashion and they give their fan base something to finally be happy about this season. End the year with a dub, eliminating the Dolphins. They can be happy about that maybe. I just think Rodgers and company bounce back, have a good game. Maybe they're trailing late. Rodgers has a game-winning drive, something like that. I just see a really dramatic finish and the Jets end up winning in dramatic fashion. And they win the game and eliminate the Dolphins. That's kind of how my gut's telling me this game is going to go. I mean, let me see the line on this game, actually. Let's see here. Let's see. Where are we? Jesus, the Broncos favored by 10. My God. Yeah, okay, the Dolphins are favored by 1 point. So even Vegas is a little cautious, really close to a pick'em game at this point. Yeah, I can't believe I'm picking the Jets to win this game. I mean, the Dolphins should win this game. As I mentioned, if the Dolphins do pull off the upset, I won't be surprised. It's not even an upset, they're favored. But if the Dolphins do pull off the win, rather, I think their defense is gonna have to have a good game, which I think it'll have a decent game at worst. I think their offense is gonna just have to play better than it did last week, at least in terms of pushing the ball down the field to score points. But yeah, my gut. I'm going my gut in this game. Just I'm gonna say the Jets pull off the upset, maybe shock people, maybe I don't know, just shock the NFL world, pull off the upset. Rodgers looks good. Then maybe there's discussions in the offseason. Should the Jets keep Rodgers because of it? The last game he looked good. And then, Rodgers, I'm sure is going to be extra motivated to end the year on a uh, a clutch game where he plays well, maybe a game winning drive, something like that. I'm sure Rodgers, his egotistical side, is going to want to win in that fashion. But I'm going to pick the Jets to win this game in upset. I'm going to say the Jets win this game. I'll say 24. I kind of want to say 17, but I'll say 24-20. Jets somehow pull off the upset and eliminate the Dolphins from the playoffs. Niners Cardinals. This is an interesting game. Honestly, I'm a little surprised most people in this league are on the Niners. I am going with the Niners too, but the Cardinals are favored in this game. Let me see how much they're favored by. Um, let's see. Let's see here. Uh, okay, they're actually favored by 4.5. I mean, they could definitely cover that. That's a little much for me. I'm sure a decent part of that is because Josh Dobbs is starting, but honestly, that's why I'm picking them. I would probably pick I would pick the Niners even if Purdy was playing, but I think Josh Dobbs is going to have a really good game. The Niners offense is going to have a good game too. Maybe not a really good game. Cardinals defense, I think, will play a decent game. It played a good game last week. I think this will be a lower scoring game. I don't think it'll be a shootout. I don't think it'll be like a field goal battle, a punt battle, things like that. I think it'll be like in between both of them, like a 24-17ish type of game. Niners defense. Okay, actually, let me go back to Josh Dobbs. Yeah, okay. So I don't think Josh Dobbs and the offense would do a lot this game, but I think it's going to be late. It's going to be clutch late, and Josh Dobbs is going to put together a clutch drive. We're going to get Dobbs Mania back for the Week 18 finale. He's going to have a good game, clutch drive, and end up getting a game-winning drive for the Niners. Maybe a extra bold prediction in there for me. Niners defense, I think, will play a decent game. It'll probably get a couple stops, get the ball moved on, and allow a decent amount of points. Cardinals offense, I think, will play a decent game. Couple good drives, couple bad drives. Cardinals defense, again, I think it'll play decent, but not great. I think the Niners pull off a close win here, end the season on a win. They can give their fans something to be optimistic about, getting a win in maybe dramatic fashion. Josh Dobbs getting a Josh Dobbs Mania win. Josh Dobbs. There we go. Josh Dobbs Mania win. Dobbs Mania win, rather. I don't know. I'm just feeling the Niners in this game. That's what my gut's telling me. The Cardinals win this game, which again, they are favored by. Again, can definitely cover that 4.5 spread, although I wouldn't bet on that at all. I wouldn't bet on a lot in week 18. It's just a hard week as far as spreads, at least. Just a weird, hard week to predict with all the benching with the starters and things like that. But yeah, Cardinals, they win this game. I think their offense is going to have a good game, which definitely could happen. I think their defense is going to have a pretty, maybe not have to, but I think their defense will have a pretty solid game. Cardinals offense, I don't think is going to do a whole lot in this game. I think the Niners defense will play a decent game. So yeah, maybe their defense is going to have to be the main driving factor, but I can also see the Cardinals going off. I don't know. This is a hard game to predict, but I'm going to say the Niners take this game. I kind of just feel oddly confident with them just getting a win late in the year. Just, end the year on a win, going to the offseason with a dub, at least something to be happy about for the Niners. So yeah, Niners also going to want to get revenge on the Cardinals. The first time these teams played, the Niners outplayed them, and the Cardinals ended up stealing that game. Niners are probably beyond pissed about that game. Obviously, it doesn't matter now in terms of seeding. Both these teams are eliminated. But yeah, just going to say something. The Cardinals really going to sweep the Niners. Who knows? I didn't think they were going to sweep the Rams, and they should have. They outplayed the Rams last week, I think, and the Rams got a bit fortunate to win that game. Michael Carter is also going to be starting for the Cardinals. James Conner's on IR. So I didn't even think about that. That's James Conner's big part of their offense. So yeah, Niners defense, that's a boost for them, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm just feeling fairly oddly maybe confident with the Niners in this game. Do I really see them getting swept by the Cardinals and the Cardinals getting two more wins than the Niners? The Niners finishing 6-11. That's not maybe the best reason to pick the Niners, and that's not the reason I'm picking them, but I just have a tough time seeing that. I'm going to say the Niners win this game. Um, yeah, I'll do my 24-17 prediction that I outlined earlier. Kind of want to say 20-17, maybe 21-24, something like 21-17, something like that. I'll say Niners win 24. Uh, God. Um, hmm. I'll say 24-17. Niners end up pulling off the dub in that one. Oh boy. Okay, let me take a sip of water before I talk about this game. Also, I don't know why my total tiebreaker points for this league is Bears Packers instead of Vikings Lions, but that's okay. Yeah, I think I said 27-13 for my Packers Bears, but that's what I have as my final score here, the total points. But here we go. Game of the year. Literally the highest stakes game, regular season game I have seen. I can't even remember the last time the stakes were this that high. So basically, what's on the line in this game? If the winner of this game is the ones they win the division, they're the 1 seed. The loser is the 5 seed. There is obviously a massive difference between the 1 and the 5 seed. The 1 seed is a first round bye. They're going to get 2 home games, assuming you win the first game, then the divisional round, to get to the Super Bowl, win the conference, the NFC. The loser is going to have to likely travel on the road for not one, well, at least one, the first game, the first round, uh, but likely, hang on, let me reset. They're gonna have to travel on the road for at least one game and likely three, and they're gonna have to win 3 games to get to the Super Bowl. And Troy Aikman talks about it in the broadcast a little bit. The Lions are more in need of the 1 seed, I think, than the Vikings. The Lions are obviously very beat up defensively, and they're a very physical team. They've not had a break in a while. They had a very early bye week. I want to say week 5. They had the earliest bye week. So they are kind of in, very much need of a rest, I think. So for them to get the 1 seed, heal up, get some guys back, they're in dire need of it. Obviously, both teams want the 1 seed. So a lot at stake in this game. I don't think anyone would have thought the Vikings would be 14-2 with a chance at the 1 seed. I mean, even I think the most optimistic Vikings fans didn't think this. I thought the Vikings were going to be a bit better than most people thought. I think I had the Vikings at like 7-10, probably like floating around 500 most of the year, competing for a playoff spot, and then dropping a couple games late, not getting it. That's where kind of I had the Vikings at. The Lions I hit as a juggernaut. I think I had them as the 1 seed. Maybe I think I had the Lions at the 1 seed. Maybe the 2 seed in my preseason picks, but regardless, I had the Lions as a juggernaut. I think I had them at 13-4, 14, and maybe I had them at 12-5. I might have slighted them a little bit, but anyway, besides the point. Who do I think is going to win this game? This is this this is such a hard game to predict. This might be the hardest game to predict all year, and honestly, in recent memory, it's one of the hardest ones in a while for me to predict. My gut is telling me Lions. My gut is telling me Lions, and normally I listen to my gut. When I go against my gut, I'm wrong. Part of my gut is telling me, all right, so I think both offenses are going to go off in this game. I am not doubting that at all. But part of my gut is telling me the Lions defense is going to have a good game. Even though it does not make much sense logically with all the injuries they have, they made the Niners offense look like the greatest show on turf last week for most of the game. Even though they kind of limited them points wise in the second half, they missed 7 points of kicks in that game. The Niners, they should have scored a 40 bomb, should have put up at least 41 with the missed kicks. and they got 2 interceptions pretty deep in Detroit territory. Otherwise than that, the Niners moved the ball on them pretty consistently, and they had that penalty at the end of the first half that led to that missed field goal, the first of 2 missed field goals from Moody in that game, along with the extra point late he missed. Even against the Bears, the Lions defense, they forced some turnovers. The Bears offense was moving the ball at a decent clip against them, it felt like. So logically, even though the Vikings offense should have no problem moving the ball and putting up points against this Lions offense, or defense rather, that has allowed the Bears, and again, not the Bears, not so much point wise, but yardage wise, and the Niners, both yards and points wise, to move the ball on them. And again, the Niners, not so the Bears, put up a decent amount of points against them. Obviously, the Vikings better than both those offenses by far. So in theory, the Vikings should have no problem moving the ball on them and putting up a good amount of points, especially because the first time these teams matched up, the Vikings put up a good amount of points. I think the Lions won 31-29, I want to say was the final score. So, and that was with the Lions defense mostly healthy. That's when they had Hutchinson still, for example. And the Vikings are pretty healthy in that game too. Of course, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know Hawkinson wasn't playing for the Vikings. I'm sure both teams are missing some guys, but the Lions in this game are far more injured than they were that game. Obviously, more offensively, they're pretty much the same outside of Montgomery, but defensively is the Lions where most of their injuries are at. But anyway, part of my gut is predicting the Lions defense, or not predicting, but is feeling the Lions defense just to have a randomly good performance. I really have little doubt the Lions offense is going to march up and down the field and put up a good amount of points. I have very little doubt in that. I think this game is going to be an absolute shootout. Even though I just laid out the entire case for the Lions, and actually here's another thing for the Lions. This is kind of concerning me. So I'm picking the Vikings, even though I just outlined that for the Lions. I'm kind of concerned that the Vikings are due for a shitter. They have won, let's see, they were 5-0, then dropped 2 in a row. So they've won 9 in a row, the Vikings have. They are due for a shitter of a game. And that's part of my gut is telling me it's going to be this game. And I think the Lions defense could randomly play well, even though logically and on paper, the Vikings offense should pop off in this game. So the Vikings are due for a shitter. It might happen in this game. That's kind of what my gut is telling me. If they do win this game, like I'm predicting them to and get the 1 seed, maybe that bye week, it kind of resets the due for a loss thing. I don't know. Very hard to predict. Again, this is hard to predict. The reason I'm picking the Vikings in this game, even though my gut's kind of telling me the Lions defense is going to have a good game, I just can't pick that to happen, even though I'm very tempted to. I'm very tempted to move my mouse and click Detroit Lions here, especially at home. If this was in Minnesota, I'd feel a bit more confident with the Vikings. But the reason I'm going the Vikings, again, I mentioned I think this is going to be an absolute shootout. I think for sure the Lions offense is going to be putting up a good amount of points. I think the Vikings offense is going to, even though the Lions defense could have a good game, maybe Vikings kind of a bad game, not bad game, but underwhelming game offensively from what we're expecting. I think they'll still put up a good amount of points. So I'm just going to say the offenses roughly cancel each other out. And so then in my eyes, that bears the question, okay, which defense do I trust more? You have to pick, at least for me, the obvious answer is the Vikings defense. With all the injuries the Lions have right now, the Vikings defense is relatively healthy. They played very well last week outside of that prevent defense late against the Packers. Oh, God, just a very difficult game to predict. I just can't pick the Lions to win, even though I kind of want to. And it's going to be heartbreaking regardless of either of these two teams, whichever one of them gets the 5 seed, because they're going to be a 14-win team on the road against a 4-seeded team that's going to have 9 or 10 wins. So that's going to be a lot of people talking about that. The NFL needs to fix that. Happened a couple years ago, for example, the 12-win Cowboys had to travel on the road to the 8-9 Bucks. I talked about this in my video. I went on a rant about how the Bucs should have had more than 8 wins. Friggin' ruined Tom Brady's last season. Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich and that god-awful offensive line, the no run game they had. But anyway, Not to get too off topic here. Uh, yeah, this is very hard to predict. I just am going to trust the Vikings defense more than the Lions to get a key stop or two. Even though my gut, it doesn't make much sense logically and on paper, is kind of predicting the Lions defense to play well. I'm just going to predict a shootout here. The offenses cancel each other out. Which defense do I trust more? I just have to go with the Vikings. They've been playing better. They're healthy. I don't know. It's a very hard game to predict. And again, in Detroit, it's making me less confident. Even if it was in Minnesota, I wouldn't be too confident. I'd be a bit more confident. But it being on the road in Detroit, Sunday Night Football, obviously those fans know damn well it's on the line. They're going to push to the 1 seed. This is probably the best Lions team in the history of the franchise. And obviously the fans are going to legitimately believe they have a shot at the Super Bowl, rightfully so. Especially, here's another thing, the Lions are getting some key guys back, it looks like. I think, I forget who, but I read a couple key guys might be coming back for them defensively, and they might be getting Monty back. I want to say the divisional round, assuming they make it that. I'm going to probably pick either one of these teams to advance in the first round anyway. But actually, I don't know. They're probably going to play the Rams, and the Rams could be the one. I don't know. I don't want to get too into myself with my playoff picks here. Oh God! But the Lions might be getting healthy, so they're gonna obviously both teams gonna go all out to get the 1 seed. But I do think it means more for the Lions to get it because they're so injured. They need a break. I think more so than the Vikings, especially because the Vikings, you can argue, when I was saying they're due for a loss, if they lose this game, they're gonna have to probably play 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl, and especially with them being due for a loss, 3 road games on the road in the playoffs, that's going to be a very difficult task to overcome. Oh, very hard game to predict here. So even though I'm not too confident, I just it's going to be crazy in Detroit. The fan base is going to be going absolutely crazy, going to be losing its mind. That is going to be the crowd is going to be beyond electric in this game. I definitely think this is a 1-score game. I really do not see either team winning by more than 1 score. This is probably going to come down to the last play of the game, certainly right down to the wire. I don't know. The only thing in my gut, if the Lions win, I guess I do see a scenario where the Vikings just put up the shitter that they're due for. At least I think they are, that I mentioned earlier. I could see the Lions just playing a good game. If their defense steps up and plays a good game, I think the Lions will win by more than 1 score. Because I think their offense is going to march up and down the field and score. I think the Lions defense with a couple stops. I think the Lions offense is definitely going to do its part to win this game. So I could see the Lions maybe winning I don't know, maybe somewhere like 14. I think at the absolute max, like 17, but that's pushing it, I think, a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Very hard game to predict. I could see so many different scenarios as to the way this game plays out. Very realistic scenarios. Lions are favored in my league, 75% of them. So I'm in the 1-4 minority here, picking the Vikings. 3 out of the 4 picking the Lions in this league. Most people I've seen, like on YouTube and such, are picking the Vikings. Kind of the same thinking as me, as they are kind of just canceling the offenses out. It's going to be a shootout, but they're just trusting the Vikings defense to get that extra stop more than the Lions banged up defense. Plus the Lions won the first game. The Lions won the first game in Minnesota. Went down to the last play. The Vikings were at the 50. They were attempting a Hail Mary, and the Lions got the sack. I think it was Aiden Hutchinson. Couldn't even get the Hail Mary off. But that game went down to the last play of the game, and both teams were nearly at full health. This game, the Vikings are they're at better health as far as, at least, guys playing. Maybe not physically, they're all banged up, but at least in terms of participation, I think they're better now than they were at that point in the year. And the Lions are worse off, especially defensively. So the game went down to the wire the first time when these teams were fully healthy, pretty much for the most part. Am I really going to pick the Lions to win the game when they're this banged up and the Vikings are healthy? Oh, very, very, I don't know. I could see the Lions. I honestly could see them. I could see this game kind of being a disappointment. Lions kind of, we're expecting to go down to the last play. I could see the Lions winning this game, in a surprising fashion by more than one score, but I don't know. Uh, this is such a hard game to pick. This is such a hard game to predict. Oh boy. I mean I had the Vikings picked right now, and I'm still going back and forth in my mind, honestly. This is such a hard game to predict. Oh, I don't know, guys. This is I cannot wait to see how this game plays out. Oh boy. I think I'm gonna stick with the Vikings. Not very confident at all. I would probably say a 51% confidence level, 49% on the Lions' part. It's basically a coin flip in my mind at this point. Uh, definitely can go either way, but I'm just going to trust the Vikings defense, get that extra stop. I'm going to say the Vikings win this game. A nail biter goes down to the wire, the last play of the game. I'm going to say they win 31-28. I'll say 31-28, a shootout. Oh God, yeah, I'll stick with that. Oh, such a hard game to predict. Such a hard game to predict. Oh God, such a hard game to pick in this one. So indecisive. But I'll say 31-28. Vikings get the 1 seed. The Lions heartbreak. They end up getting the 5. But literally nothing would surprise me in this game. But again, no, would not at all be surprised if the Lions win. Close to a coin flip in that one. Super excited to see how that game plays out. Game of the year, probably. At least on paper. Heading into it, I mean, at least. All the games here. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, got all the games here. So I think definitely a good mix of games that matter for both teams in terms of seeding, some games that, could be interesting with the starters playing one team, the backups playing another, like Bills, my team, the Pats, for example. So yeah, a couple games that I don't think really anyone gives two shits about, maybe outside of their fan bases, like Texans, Titans, for example. No offense to either of those teams. Um, but yeah, couple of good. I'm very much interested to see how the Chiefs Broncos game plays out. Again, pulling for the Chiefs, hoping for the Bengals to make it. As much as I fucking hate the Chiefs. But yeah, obviously the big game, Vikings Lions. So yeah, bunch of interesting games this week. I will end the video here. I normally save your, good luck in fantasy, but I think most leagues are done now. For whatever reason, you're still playing fantasy, best of luck. I will continue with these types of videos to the playoffs. Obviously, there are going to be less games to predict in the playoffs, but I'll still come out with these videos round by round from the wild card all the way to the Super Bowl. But maybe go a bit more in depth with the games, given that there's going to be less of them. But yeah, good luck, fantasy again, if you're still in fantasy for whatever reason with your picks, with your bets. And yeah, best of luck, guys. Hopefully you get a good week of football. Certainly looks like it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good one and take it easy, guys.